Welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast, where I talk about research, note taking, personal knowledge management, and learning how to learn. My name is Bianca Pereira, and now our goal here is just to start a conversation. So I'm literally thinking out loud. In this episode, we want to characterize what intellectual autonomy is not, okay? Because I think like one way for us to understand what intellectual autonomy is by thinking about concrete examples of what it's not. Okay, so there are three examples that I share with one of the members in our community, Patrick. We were having a discussion, and there are three stories that I think exemplify what not having intellectual autonomy is. Okay, and I was once one of those three people. Oh, so the person number one, I like to think a person who really likes to learn, it's a learner, say, oh, I want to learn, I want to grow my ideas, I want to like read out 100 books and learn deeply. But then we're still waiting for someone to come and teach us. Okay, I want to learn about AI, I want to learn about psychology, I want to learn about something. Okay, so rather than just going there and learn, we're still seated waiting for someone to come to teach us. Okay, so it's kind of waiting for guidance. Okay, and the main reason why that happens, I believe, is just because we haven't developed the skills to learn how to learn by ourselves, learn independently. Okay, like we read multiple sources and they kind of like touch upon different things, they contradict each other, we don't have the time sometimes to engage with everything more deeply, and then we feel like we know a lot but don't know enough, so it feels just very overwhelming. And then we are waiting, well, if someone had a course that I could work on, I could go through their course and learn this thing, that would be great. So that's the first person. Okay, there is then the second person, which is someone who accepts what others says because it feels good. Okay, uh, so they end up doing something that I call parroting. Someone says something, it feels good, it feels like correct, feels right. It's like emotional reasoning. So if it feels good, it should be right. And then we listen, we accept, and then we start parroting. We start repeating what the person said, even if we don't fully understand, but it feels good. And what happens many times, I think that's one of the biggest things nowadays, that people listen something, especially if someone with some level of authority, they just accept, they repeat, and if someone questions them, as they haven't formed their own opinions, they haven't formed their own line of reasoning, they don't know how to defend their idea. So in the same way they accept it emotionally, they refute emotionally. So it's more like fist fight or complain or say, how dare you tell me that it is wrong, how dare you question me? And then people enter more into a fight rather than just argue. It's like, these are the reasons why I believe in this. But because the reasons are most of the time just emotional, it's like, it feels good, therefore I believe in this. When someone questions them, even with good intentions, I just want to understand why you think that way, they explode. Okay, so that's kind of person two. So they don't have intellectual autonomy because many times they don't even know what intellectual autonomy is. They just use it to it. Like in school, you are told what to think about. In church, you are told what to think about. In the politics, you are told what to think about. So people just use it to being told what to think about. So they never learn how to develop their own thinking. They never question that. They just accept what feels good. And they end up being person two. Okay? And then the third person that when I think about that is someone who wants to think creatively and authentically, which means like whatever authentic means, because I still have problems with that word. But it's like someone who wants to think different things. They want to be there. So they say, what is it that I think about? How do I see the situation? How do I interpret that? What are different ways that I could interpret that? Okay, Those are people who want to do that, but they censor themselves because someone with more power, however we define power, like a hierarchy or something, does not support their way of thinking. So because we are afraid of that person's power, we end up shutting down our own intellectual autonomy, even personally. Okay. So they're kind of like waiting for permission to think a given way. Okay. So those are three types of people who person one and person three want to have intellectual autonomy, but because they don't have the skills to learn and think for themselves, or they are afraid of someone else because someone didn't allow them to think that way, or someone is very good at uh, going against the idea, they're very good at argumentation, or they're very charismatic. So they end up not developing intellectual autonomy for themselves. And there is person two, which most likely doesn't even know that that's an option, doesn't even know that being intellectually autonomous is an option. Yeah. So when thinking about what intellectual autonomy is, I like to think about examples of what it is not. What is to be a person who wants but don't have, or a person who don't even know that it exists. So let me know if you know any other, if you have any other examples, if you have seen person one, two, or three in your own life, or if you are in that position, because I was once a person in each one of those. Okay, yeah, just accepting as a teenager, and at some point I start questioning myself because there are two people dear to me who are giving me different instructions on how I should think or see something, and I couldn't reconcile that. I said, how can I do both at the same time? And that moment of like life crisis, and then I was like, okay, it's time for me to think for myself. What do I want to think? What, like, I should start questioning more. And I was like 15 years old, 17 years old, I don't know. So that was me person too. Waiting for guidance as well until I went to a PhD. Okay, I was always like, oh, I really would love to learn this. I would like read a blog post, I may read a book, so I was learning, but not really, not like deeply, not able to go through the different sources and actually figuring out what there is to know about a given area. So that was me before I started, tried a PhD. And wait for permission very recently, and sometimes depending on who speaks, sometimes like, well, I better stay quiet, but I still have intellectual autonomy because in my mind I'm like, what you're saying is, yeah, no, no good. Okay, but yeah, for a long time it was really hard to go against authority, or even like, because if you're afraid of authority, there is also the opposite. If someone has no authority but they are saying something that is really meaningful, we just discard, which is not good either. Yeah. So I was those three personal personas at some point in time. So let me know which one you are and which one you have solved already, uh, or if there is a person four that we haven't talked about here. So I see you next time. The Thinking Out Loud podcast is a spin-off of the Thinking Cafe, a home for independent learners who wants to build the skills, the systems, and the practice of intellectual autonomy. So if you want to engage in more discussions about the topics that we are talking about here and have access to exclusive Think Out Loud episodes, just join us at thinkingcafe.co. I hope to meet you there.